I'm Dyer, and this is the Real Football Factories. I played Tommy Johnson in the movie The Football Factories, which was all about football violence. Fucking nutters. But that was just acting. Now I'm on a journey around the country meeting the real firms who have mass offs at football matches for real. No fake blood, no stuntmen, no makeup. This time it's just me and the country's hardest hooligans. Let's go. Let's go. I meet the real top boys who tell you the score. Now, Yorkshire's a proud footballing region, and tonight I'm going to meet 4 main teams. My journey's going to take me to Hull, Sheffield and Leeds, where I'll meet Yorkshire's top boys, and I'll see their toughest firms in action. I travel to Yorkshire to visit 5 teams who've got the toughest, most active and best manned firms in the region. The service crew of Leeds.
I thought, fuck hell, we're going to die here.
The Blades and the Owls of Sheffield.
And he's just buffed me with a brick straight in my face.
With the naughtiest firm on earth.
The Psychos of Hull.
You'd be fighting for your lives.
And the Ointment of Bradford.
When it kicks off, it's best buzz in the world.
I'm going to meet some of the most feared crews in the country. Yorkshire has been devastated by the collapse of traditional industries, textile, coal and steel.
There were more injuries as police drove the pickets back on it.
I'm on a journey to find out how this area became a rich breeding ground for hooliganism that still thrives today.
And the party prepares to descend into the dark labyrinth of tunnels deep below surface.
Yorkshire has a history of manufacturing and industry. Coal and steel have been the main bread and butter for the Yorkshire people for many years.
People's identities and people's kind of sense of masculinity was demonstrated through the workplace and through the kind of industrial labour that they might have been engaged with.
But in the 70s, the steelworks and the mines started to get closed down. This meant huge unemployment and left hordes of angry young men with nothing to do, except go and look for a tear-up.
A lot of the industries have been lost. Particularly textile and steel and coal.
That's going to tolerate to lose nearly half its 1,200 workforce.
High unemployment in Yorkshire has caused massive disaffection, and that will make them available, if you like, for football hooligan groups.
The collapse of industry in Yorkshire meant high unemployment amongst men who were used to a hard day's work.
Other kind of avenues for the expression of masculinity, come to the fore. That might be demonstrated through a kind of terrace toughness, the willingness to engage with other football supporters in physical confrontation.
Faced with the prospect of a life on the dole, some young men turned elsewhere for their fix of excitement.
When 2 groups of lads are running at each other, it's you or them. Who's going to stand, who's going to be bravest, who's going to be best firm. Plus you get at it when you're toe-to-toe with another firm, it's absolutely unbelievable.
You get toe-to-toe with somebody who's proper, who wants to really hurt you, and you've got to be switched on, you've got to know what you're doing.
You'd be fighting for your lives and really running scared. It was that pure adrenaline rush for the full weekend, and it was fantastic.
My first stop in Yorkshire is at one of the biggest and most supported clubs around. Leeds is the biggest city in Yorkshire, and its people are fiercely passionate about their football team. When Leeds United play at home, the turnout is huge. So this is Leeds, not only home to the naughtiest firm in Yorkshire, but arguably the most active crew in the country. Now, this firm are top of the league for banning orders and arrests. The police say they cause more trouble than any other mob in the country. It's the Leeds service crew.
Violence erupts outside a football match involving Leeds United fans. The type which has landed the club at the top of the Home Office's League of Shame.
Leeds United have had 499 arrests and 339 banning orders in the last 5 years, which is almost double for any other clubs around here.
Once again, before half-time, Leeds score. Some of the spectators got a bit out of hand in their excitement. The police dealt with them effectively.
The Leeds service crew have a long history of trouble.
The referee is knocked out by a fan, an unusual touch.
And have been involved in some of the most violent events that have become part of football hooligan folklore.
The kind of longevity of the Leeds service crew and Leeds' kind of involvement in spectator violence going right back to the late 60s and 1970s kind of adds to the sort of mystique, if you like, and the kind of sense that Leeds is a place that's associated with trouble, and also means that the next generations of young men who might be attracted to football violence continue to see the football club as a place where they might be able to see some action.
Someone who has seen plenty of action is Dean Ashfield. Dean has been involved with Leeds for over 20 years and has followed them around the country. He's been arrested for football violence 7 times. He's no stranger to major kick-offs with the Leeds mob.
All down here, just called cages. And it's where all the fucking nuts used to go. Right next to the away fans and that. In the good old days, when you could have a look at football.
The Leeds service crew would always prepare a fierce welcome for the away fans arriving in their coaches at Elland Road.
That's where they park them over there. So, if it kicks off, always kicks off there.
When Sunderland fans came to town, the Leeds United mob attacked their coaches with bricks and stones. Dean was part of that mob.
They had a load of little divs outside, all chucking bricks as the coaches went past them. They've got every coach, a couple of windows on each coach. I thought, fuck hell, we're going to die here. It's a buzz, adrenaline takes over. So you've got all them boys that are watching you and that, and they all know who you are then. If you run away or fucking cry or what have you, they're going to fucking punch you themselves, aren't they?
Dean's tough background has moulded him into the fighting man that he is today.
It's not in my nature to run, look in my face, you know what I mean? I've had a good few kickings. Coming from a tough council estate, bred into sort of thing, and having 2 older brothers kicking fuck out you every day, that don't help.
Dean and the Leeds crew would not only fiercely defend their patch, but would travel around the country, always taking huge numbers away from home, causing havoc wherever they went.
The Leeds service crew stand out as kind of the club that has the heaviest numbers, that's prepared to take the kind of biggest crews.
Your hardcore contingency of away fans that are hooligans see it as representing their territory and invading another person's territory, like taking the local team's pub, for example. You've stamped your authority on someone else's land.
In part 2, we'll see the Leeds service crew cause mayhem across the country. Dyer at the seaside always turns ugly for the service crew. And when they go abroad to Turkey, it's even worse. We'll see the tragic events in Istanbul that caused the bitter hatred in football that still lasts to this day. And we'll meet the men of steel from Sheffield.
I want their main man. I want the main man. I want him toe-to-toe. Because I'm ready. I'm ready for him.
Welcome to the real football factories. I'm up here in the deepest, darkest Yorkshire.
In part 1, I saw that Leeds had the biggest and most active firm in Yorkshire. I'm going to see what happens when they take their firm to neighbours and bitter rivals, Hull City.
We're Leeds United supporters. We fucking rule.
The Leeds service crew have a terrible reputation. They're notorious for causing mayhem and mass brawls up and down the country. Extreme violence has become the trademark of the Leeds service crew. At an infamous Leeds away trip in May 1990, hordes of the service crew descended on the small seaside town of Bournemouth for the last game of the season. Leeds needed just 1 point to be guaranteed promotion.
For young working class men who might like to have a kind of a trip out to the seaside for a day out, it became quite fashionable for Leeds United in particular for the seaside town fixture to become a big away day.
Leeds won the game 1-0. 10,000 delirious Leeds fans descended onto the beach causing mayhem. It was only a matter of time before things started to kick off. What started off as a day out at the seaside turned into an ugly battle on the beaches involving a rampaging mob of Leeds service crew. Dean Ashfield was there.
It was fucking mayhem down there. Seen one pub nearly get burnt down because they ran out of beer. So I had to burn the pier down.
Celebration parties erupted in violence.
Rowing, row. Fight, fight, fight. You don't give a fuck about the consequences.
50 people were arrested and charged with assault and criminal damage. At least 20 people were badly hurt, including 6 police officers.
The league says because of the trouble, it may now ban bank holiday matches at seaside resorts altogether.
The violence at Bournemouth led to the town having a ban on bank holiday matches. Leeds' success in the Premiership got them into the European Champions League. Leeds service crew were travelling around Europe, exporting their homegrown carnage and mayhem. But the Leeds campaign abroad would ultimately result in disaster in Turkey. In 2000, Leeds went to the Turkish capital Istanbul to take on the feared and vicious Galatasaray. Not surprisingly, the night before the match, it all kicked off. Trouble broke out in the city centre involving hundreds of Leeds and Galatasaray fans. It spiralled totally out of control. The Turkish mob attacked the Leeds fans with knives and bottles. There was dozens of casualties on both sides.
What they were saying is a couple of Leeds fans burnt a flag or something, a Turkish flag.
The 5th of April 2000 would end in terrible tragedy. 2 innocent Leeds fans were caught up in the melee and were stabbed to death. The following day, welcome to hell greeted the Leeds fans at Galatasaray's Ali Sami Yen Stadium as Turkish fans anticipated a Leeds onslaught.
A small army of riot police escorted Leeds fans into the stadium.
So did the Turkish authorities, who mounted a massive police security operation designed to keep the 2 opposing sets of fans apart. Thankfully, it worked. Christopher Loftus, an engineer, and Kevin Spate, a pub landlord and father of 2, died in the Taksim hospital of stab wounds on that terrible night in Istanbul. The death of the 2 Leeds supporters fueled a hatred between English and Turkish fans that still continues to this day. The service crew don't need to go abroad to be hated. Hull are their close neighbours and bitter rivals. Matches between the 2 teams have a history of violence. Their firms will be baying for each other's blood. I made the short journey to Hull to check out when the 2 teams met. I've got an image of a right small little town in the middle of nowhere with loads of northerners running about, ripping lumps out of each other. Hull have a fearsome firm of their own, the aptly named Hull City Psychos. As I got nearer to the firm, the reality of the danger I was in began to dawn on me.
I don't want to be stabbed. And my teeth, I don't want to lose no railings. I don't want nothing to happen to me boat.
Last time Leeds went to Hull in 2003, fighting broke out all over the city.
There's the Leeds, look, the Leeds.
I started to get apprehensive as I realised I was going right into the heart of where the 2 crews would face each other. Thousands of Yorkshire men on the streets and then me, one Cockney on his own. Not a good look.
That's a mental name, that one, and all, it? Hull City Psychos. Can never get me up round these names.
I had to walk from the train to the stadium. I was soon surrounded by a mob of Hull fans. Were they psychos? They certainly hated Leeds. I got to the stadium without any trouble. The police obviously had a plan to keep the opposing fans apart and into their seats.
Most of the Leeds are inside the ground, as far as I can see. It's all Hull now. The police are in full force. They're all over the gaff. You know, hopefully, it should be a nice, peaceful game.
The stadium has been carefully designed so that the away fans can be shepherded easily into the away end. The match began without any trouble, but this was not always the case in Hull. Before Hull City moved to their new purpose-built KC Stadium, they used to play their home games at Boothbury Park. It was a haven for psycho activity. The old ground has many fond memories for ex-Hull City psycho lad, Sean Tordoff.
People saw Hull as a place not to visit. The actual mob itself was very large. In the early 70s, people used to use hatchets and hammers, and it graduated to Stanley knives in the 80s.
In his day, Sean was a frontman of the Hull City Psychos, who would always be up for a tear-up.
Fights are organised. A lot of lads meet up with the counterparts at England games, swap telephone numbers, they'll have email addresses. It's fairly sophisticated.
Back at the KC Stadium, the match was about to end between Leeds and Hull. I waited outside the ground to see what would happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, the atmosphere in here is electric. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when they start piling out of here. I'm quite glad there's a fence here.
The clever design of the new stadium allows the police to put huge steel fences between the Leeds fans and the waiting Hull mob. There's no way the rival fans can get anywhere near each other.
I've witnessed probably the biggest grudge match Yorkshire has to offer between two naughty clubs with naughty firms, but clearly it's the old build-up run things.
The Hull City Stadium has been designed specifically to separate groups of youths from the stadium to the station. The whole thing is a separate movement, and it seems to be working. I get the feeling that other stadiums will be encouraged to go that way as well.
But back in the old days at Boothbury Park, things were very different.
Hull City supporters clashed with police and stewards.
The old stadium was much easier for opposing fans to take each other on. When Hull played Bradford, Sean was there to witness things get really out of hand.
This was Boothbury Park for the second division game between Hull and Bradford.
Sean recalls the day when the police decided that the Bradford away fans should go into Hull's home end.
This was the last straw really for the City fans, and it was decided that enough was enough. There was at least 3 pitch invasions and fighting on the terraces. The police just lost complete control.
By the end of the match, 50 Hull fans were arrested.
Around the surrounding areas, after the game, it was just chaos.
Friday night saw some of the worst football violence ever seen in Hull.
In 2002, when Hull played Middlesbrough, the streets were turned into a riot zone. Hull thugs attacked the police with bricks and metal barriers as they tried to get to the Borough fans. 18 Hull lads were arrested for affray and public disorder charges. The Psychos of Hull live up to their name. One of the biggest rivalries around here is in Sheffield. It's a town with 2 football teams, Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United. And guess what? They hate each other. The relatively small city has to host 2 football firms. Sheffield Wednesday are the Owls, and Sheffield United are known as the Blades. Derby Day in Sheffield becomes a grudge match in the town of epic proportions.
In this city, you're either a blue or you're a red.
I'm up in Sheffield to see one of the biggest rivalries in the country. The Blades versus the Owls.
Sheffield is a divided city as the Owls and Blades prepare to meet.
7,000 Blades on the left, God knows how many thousand.
300 officers will be on duty at Hillsborough. It's the biggest...
Derby Day affects this city like no other. Neighbours go to war, friends become enemies, brother will fight brother.
The rivalry between Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United goes back as long as football has existed.
The well-known Wednesday supporter was ambushed by around 40 rival fans following...
This Wednesday fan was bricked in the face and severely injured when he was attacked by United fans on Derby Day.
Alan was battered with a concrete block as he lay on the ground.
I'm on my way to meet Dougie Naylor, one of Wednesday's main lads who has years of experience and violence at football matches. He has Wednesday in his blood.
I love Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. I love them for the football, and I love the supporters.
He knows what to expect on Derby Day.
There's a proper hatred, especially on match day. I hate United, they hate Wednesday. When United came last time proper, they took no stand. That's where we sit like. They took it. There must have been 200 of them. Frightening. Week in, week out for the last 20 odd years. It's just been, well, forever, since forever. It's been happening, and it always will do in Sheffield.
When it all kicks off, he's right there on the front line.
When I was young, I didn't give a fuck. I was straight in, proper straight in. Got a nice little injury on eye there from Charlton. It was tourists onto 40. They kicked me all over, proper ragged me all over. Broken ribs against Newcastle. Did my knee and all at Burnley. Oh, that were bad. Got a nice injury to my hand against Blades. I had to have a metal plate put in it. Might be the strongest bone in my body now. So after it, you can't remember. Something like switches off in your head, and people tell you, oh, you did this, you did that while you were there, and you think, well, I can't even remember that. Last time I had a right good proper go here against Charlton the week.
When Wednesday played Charlton in the FA Cup in 2006, Dougie and his brother got separated from the rest of the Owls crew. They were cornered and attacked by over 40 Charlton lads.
They came into town, 40 of them. You don't come to Sheffield with 40 mob band unless you want a bit of something. So I thought I'd take it to them after the game. But we weren't proper organised. Next minute I'm up floor and getting proper smashed all over. Proper.
I was going to a pub just minutes from Hillsborough full of the Wednesday mob, the Owls crime squad. This lot are proper Yorkshire men and they're not always too keen on cockneys. Which wasn't such great news for me as I went in there on my own.
Sheffield Wednesday have just played Burnley. It's just finished. They're all rolling out of the ground. I've been told that the OCS, the Owl Crime Squad, are plotted up in the Travellers. Let's go and see what they've got to say. Hello, sweet. Sweet as, man, thank you. Well, obviously, I'm going to ask you firstly, a bit about the rivalry we use and the Blades. Obviously, it's a naughty rivalry, innit? It's probably one of the worst in the country, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And what's it like on a derby day? What happens?
Your fucking ass.
Wednesday go looking for it and they don't.
Behind Dougie is Graham Thompson. He's an old timer who's been running with the Wednesday crew since the 60s. He's been nicked 8 times, and he's not letting me get a word in.
As far as I'm concerned, Blades haven't got a firm. They never had a firm. Wednesday always rule Sheffield. They've got no numbers now. I used to go to Millwall when everybody was scared to death to go here.
It's fucking Sheffield Wednesday with the naughtiest firm on earth. I mean, you don't even know it.
We've got a good firm now, Wednesday.
Like, we went to Hull, right? Couldn't get nowhere near Hull boys. So 100 of us come back to Sheffield. Ended up like 13 pumps, which is their boozer. Not their boozer, but near enough their boozer. And they won't come.
This lot are hardcore. They know the police are onto them, but bear no bones about saying they're an active firm.
Now, listen, I've heard about this, you know, the old bill up here. Like, it seems to me that they've got things locked down up here.
Yo,
mate,
like today, there were more coppers on that fucking north stand today than what they were us, like, you know what I mean? Really? They fucking, those against United, they were like proper. They were hitting people unnecessarily, rape proper hitting people like that.
In years gone by, we'd get there, they didn't even know you were there, do you know what I mean? You were there before they'd even fucking got out of bed and got the socks on and the truncheons.
And they don't seem like they want to give it up in the near future.
What do you think the future holds for an hooligan? It's jowl, isn't it? It's one word, jowl.
But what do you do? How do you channel your energy into other things? What do you do? What do I do? I'm 40 odd years old now.
Isn't it? Know what I mean?
I don't like Louis
It's in there. It never goes away.
No, of course
you
it
know what I
don't.
mean? In your heart, in your head, fuck it.
They want to do you, we want to do them. You're not going to walk down the street and just whack some individual. You want their main boys. Like, I want their main man. I want the main man. I want him toe to toe. Because I'm ready. I'm ready for him. I'm ready for Burnley. I'm ready for any fucker. I'm there.
So that's the blue half of Sheffield.
Get that cockney bastard outside now. Let's do it, Dave. We're going to do it.
I managed to get out of the Owls Crime Squad's pub unscathed.
Try and behave yourself, eh? Try and keep your old nut down.
But now it was time to cross town to meet their bitter rivals. I was on my way to see what the red half of Sheffield are like. I was going to meet the mob from Sheffield United. Join us in part 3, where we'll meet the Blades business crew.
This is part 3 of the Real Football Factories, where I'm up in Yorkshire.
I've travelled to Sheffield, where there are 2 big teams with 2 main firms, Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United. I met the crew from Sheffield Wednesday, the Owls crime squad. They told me who they thought the biggest crew were in town.
As far as I'm concerned, Blades haven't got a firm. They never had a firm. Wednesday always rule Sheffield.
In this part, I'm travelling across town to meet their bitter rivals, Sheffield United's firm, the Blades business crew. Steve Cowins ran with the Blades business crew for years. He's been in scores of battles with Wednesday, and he can tell the tales that go with them.
You're either red and white or blue and white in this city. There's no middle ground. I've always fought against Wednesday. I've always proper disliked them. Every Friday or Saturday night, either United go up West Street and kick off, or Wednesday come down London Road. Wednesday have had odd victory type thing in battles, but generally United run the show.
One night things went too far. Sheffield turned into a riot zone.
It turned everybody out. We knew they were coming. We were on London Road, and it was a bad night for hooliganism in Sheffield because Wednesday brought petrol bombs. About 2 months later, United did the same. A couple of United lads carried petrol bombs up to a clash that were going to happen up. We were going to jump Wednesday up way back from Hillsborough. And two of our lots, got petrol bombs. I thought, what the fuck's going off here?
On Derby Day, the 2 firms always go at it. It's almost guaranteed to kick off.
Those confrontations between fans and mounted officers. Just minutes before.
And balaclavas, a clear sign, say police, they intended to cause trouble.
There will be divisions within individual families. There will be kind of people who, might prefer to go to a different pub on that day because they know that their pub is normally occupied by Wednesdayites rather than Unitedites.
I don't enjoy them, because there's too much at stake. If you lose, you've got them rabbiting in your tab all week at work.
Not only are Sheffield United bitter rivals with their neighbours Wednesday, but all visiting teams to Bramall Lane are treated as hated enemies.
Trouble started when Sheffield United fans clashed with Birmingham.
In 1997, the visit of Birmingham City to Bramall Lane brought mass riots and brawls to the streets of Sheffield.
4 people were taken to hospital, 2 are still detained after emergency treatment with what are described as serious injuries, following Sheffield's worst night of football violence for many years.
Come on, Blades!
As one of the former top boys of the Blades crew, Steve is now in charge of taking Sheffield United fans on away trips.
Is that it? Get on, fuck! It says quote 2.
Steve and his boys were off to an away match to Coventry, where they were playing championship rivals, Coventry City. Even though they're not playing them today, they still can't hide their hatred for bitter rivals, Sheffield Wednesday.
If you hate Wednesday, stand up! If you hate Wednesday, stand up! If you hate Wednesday, stand up!
The United lads spot opposing fans on their arrival at Coventry's ground. Their behaviour soon alerted the attention of the police. The police carefully shepherded the boys into the stadium, as they do with all away fans.
Get in there!
Steve and the boys went into Coventry's Ryco Stadium without any trouble. But when Steve was in his heyday, he would always go out looking for a decent ruck.
I used to love going away matches because you were like you're all soldiers all together and you're off to war and you never know what you're going to meet around the corner or how many their firm were going to have. You just looked round at people and you knew they were gamers folk and you knew they weren't going to leave your side. And it was a right buzz, to have that camaraderie and that friendships that last for a lifetime. And you're all risking your lives together, really, because it's sometimes that serious.
Steve Cowans was an old warhorse for the Blades business crew. He's invited me to see his Sunday League football team play.
Well, we won't wait for him to score before we start.
I met him on the touchline.
It's a fucking nightmare, this is.
This northern mud weren't doing my brand new white trainers any favours.
Look at me trotters, look.
Hey, up
How are you, sunshine? You okay? How you getting on?
We're winning 4-1.
You got the same strips of blades, didn't you?
That's it, of course we have.
I used to play Sunday League, right, but it used to kick off every week.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't believe it for my side, but we're 8 discipline. I drove into him discipline that I ain't had in my life.
So listen, how did you come up with the old BBC name?
That group of 12 lads, when all names were coming out, like ICF and what have you, we all had a meeting, obviously we wanted a name, and there were a few names discussed, but that was favourite. Blaze busy, got a ring to it like BBC.
Yeah, it has. In the 80s and 90s, Steve, like, you was one of the most active firms in the country. Why do you think that is?
Well, we've got a lot of youngsters like myself coming through, we're mad for it, like, and at the time, old Bill ain't got it under control, so you basically got big firms, you got 200 and 300 mobbed up, like, you know what I mean? And everybody were mad for it.
Now, I've been finding a bit about the old Bill up here, yeah? I've been told that they've got it all under control up here, they run things.
They've vent their anger that way. I don't know if they've had arguments with the missuses at home and what have you, but they take it out of football lads with the truncheons. And I don't dislike them, they just do their job, like, but youngsters now, I just feel sorry for them. They can't even get going, like, you know what I mean? They can't even get a ruck going, they ban straight away type thing, so I do feel sorry for them.
Also, most people have said to me, one word, they've just said, jowl.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Back in the changing room after the game, Steve told me tales of wars gone by.
They'd be chucking breaks, you'll be chucking bottles, whatever, so there's like a 10-yard standoff. And when sort of everything's been exhausted, that's it, that's when big roar goes up. And it's survival at fittest then. They're adrenaline rush and it just takes over your body. I've got quite a few scars on me. I've got that one there, one on my head there, got another one there, got one on my eyebrow there. I got captured at all, I got a 8 kicking and all. A proper splatting. Worst one I've had were at Blackburn. I just got monsooned. One's coming from behind me and he's just buffed me with a brick straight in my face like, and he detached my retina in my eye, my mince were out here, buffed my nose and chipped a tooth. I didn't go down, I just remember holding onto a tree like that and they were all punching me, I'm just like holding on for grim death.
Steve's still passionate about the football, but he's given up the fighting because he didn't want to go to jail.
I do miss it, but can't go back to it because basically I get locked up and it's jail terms now for anybody caught at football now. It's jail terms and I'm not risking my livelihood no more over fighting at football.
As usual, the lads in Yorkshire kept going back to the same subject, the Yorkshire police. The police had to show their mettle as Sheffield United were about to play Leeds in a Yorkshire grudge match. Sheffield United had just been promoted to the Premier League, and the Blades fans were desperate to show off to their neighbours.
Premiership, here we come.
Hundreds of Leeds and Blades fans took over the streets of Sheffield. We were there in the thick of it to see how the police dealt with the huge numbers of fans.
Leeds, go! Let's all bash and Leeds,
If it did kick off, our cameras were right there to record all the action.
Gaffer wants us for this position basically to provide a barrier just in case we get any occurrence down here.
The Yorkshire police were out in force, as they know that both sides have fearful firms who would just love to get at each other. But extremely well organised police operations at matches has become the trademark of the police in this region.
Many football fans, not only from Yorkshire, but equally football fans visiting Yorkshire, have commented upon the harshness of the police in the Yorkshire region. It's the most overt, tough and unforgiving.
The police surrounded a large section of United fans they have identified as possible hooligans and didn't allow them into the stadium. The police used their new Section 60 powers that allows them to stop and search fans. They can prevent them from going to matches, even if they have tickets, simply on the suspicion that they might cause trouble. This man was one of the Sheffield United fans not allowed into the stadium by the police. They booked him as a known hooligan and member of the Blades business crew. Here's Sean Angel. He's one of the reasons why the police are so active at stopping people at football matches.
I got pulled over in bus and got filmed basically, which is norm anyway. They do that with most lads now. You just get I think it's like a section 60. You get name and address and all that. But then they can ask you to move on, or they can lock you up while after the match, which they didn't, fortunately for me. But they put us in like a little compound just off London Road up a side street, which like cocked things up a bit.
Leeds United's visit to Bramall Lane ended without any major trouble. The huge police operation was largely a success.
Apparently there were supposed to be 150 Leeds fans got tickets for home section, but nothing ever came of it, which all lads knew it wouldn't ever happen anyway. With technology that police have got now, it's never going to happen like it used to do in the 70s and 80s.
Sean is passionate about his exploits. Like any proud sportsman, he keeps a scrapbook of his newspaper clippings, a grim reminder of the violence that occurred in the football firm's wars.
That's me on the pitch at Brighton in my younger days. That was in 1984. April 1978, first time I got arrested at a football match. This is me in 1980 at Hampden Park. Quite a famous battle between Rangers and Celtic. It was chaos that day. Most of these lads are all good friends of mine. Here's most of the BBC trying to get at the Derby supporters. Obviously I can't name them because some of them are still involved. This was in France 98. A friend of mine got stabbed and he's got hit by a bottle.
But despite the real dangers involved, Sean would always go looking for trouble at football matches.
If you went to an high-profile game and nothing happened, you used to say, what's it been like? Oh, it was terrible. Why? Because they've lost. Oh, no, not team. They didn't bring anybody. The match would be irrelevant to a certain extent. It were more on how you perform sort of on streets.
Sean's been involved with the Blades hooligans since 1978. He's been arrested 8 times for football violence.
Last got arrested in February 2000 and I thought, well, that's it, enough's enough kind of thing. Because I thought after that, the next step, you know, you're going to the big house. That weren't for me.
But the threat of prison has stopped Sean looking for trouble.
Most of the lads are banned now that's sort of been involved with the BBC, all the main lads, all the top lads. For them that still go, that haven't been banned, they're marked out straight away. They'll take you to one side, and they can, if they're that way inclined, they'll stop you going in the match, whether you've got a ticket or not. I think anybody who wants to fight at football matches now, he must be a bit of an idiot, to be honest, because he's going straight to prison.
Efficient policing techniques have caused a lot of the top boys to pack in the violence. But in the satellite towns like Burnley in the northwest and Bradford, the firms are rumoured to be hard at it. I went to Bradford, who I'd heard had a naughty crew. It's in towns like Bradford that the next generation of football hooligan is coming off the football factory production line. Paul and Danny are members of Bradford City's crew. For a small team from a small town, this firm punches well above its weight. They are known and feared around Yorkshire. They're called the Ointment.
There's a backbone of about 40-50 who've gone religiously for like 25 years. On a derby game against Leeds, we'll just feel like I can pull numbers up to like 150. Everyone's up for it for big games, aren't they?
When it kicks off, it's best buzz in the world, isn't it?
Adrenaline, isn't it?
No drugs can touch it.
It's just what lads do, isn't it? Well, that's what lads do when I've grown up anyway.
Same here.
Isn't it?
How many lads don't like fighting?
When you're first going off, it's scary, isn't it? You don't know what's going to happen, whatever, but when it just gets going, it just takes over, doesn't it? You don't think about it then, do you?
Once got chased by a load of Wigan. That was a bit bad. About 60 of them, there were only about 10 of us. They were pulling things out on you and that was a bit...
Yeah.
Bradford City has a history of tragedy. Their old wooden ground caught fire in 1985 and 56 people died. But this had nothing to do with hooligans. Danny and Paul were banned in 2003 when Aberdeen came to Bradford for a pre-season friendly. After the match, fighting broke out on the streets. Later, the police raided homes all over Bradford. 20 arrests were made. 8 people received prison sentences. Danny and Paul have been banned ever since.
When Aberdeen came, they brought a good firm, didn't they? And
A few Tottenham thrown in with them as well.
Yeah, there were a few Tottenham. We had a bit of a do with them just up top here.
About a dozen of us confronted them just at a pub down the corner. And all pub come out against us.
But these lads are hardcore. It seems that the police can't deter them from looking for a ruck at a football match. And even prison doesn't scare them. The Bradford boys couldn't care less.
You could say it for ages, it's like we're on banning orders now. You can say, oh, I'll never go back. Well, not for the fact I will. Go back. It's what all my mates do. It's like an addiction, yeah, without a doubt. It's hard to give up.
In part 4, we'll see who really has the biggest firm in Yorkshire.
When people come here, they get a shout.
This firm are the best equipped, have the most numbers and always turn out to every match in the region.
They'll just do ya.
They are the most well-known and feared in the whole country.
They take liberties and they don't take no shit.
And when it goes off, they're always around. Trust me, you're in for a big surprise, because it's not who you think it is. Welcome to the Real Football Factories. For tonight's show, I'm up in Yorkshire. And let me just tell you now, it's freezing. In part 3, I met the lads from all the main firms around Yorkshire. I've been to Leeds, Hull, Sheffield and Bradford. But in this part, I'm going to find out who the biggest and most feared firm in Yorkshire really are. So who is the biggest firm in Yorkshire? Well, I can tell you now, it's not Sheffield United's BBC, the Blades business crew. It could be Sheffield Wednesday's OCS, the old crime squad. But it's not. How about the HCP, the whole city psychos? Nah. Surely it must be the mighty Leeds service crew. Nah. What I can tell you is this firm's got the biggest numbers and the most tooled up in the whole of Yorkshire. So who is this super firm? It's none other than the SYPD, South Yorkshire Police Department. Up here in Yorkshire, the one thing that the lads from the firms all agree on is that the police are the hardest and the most ruthless force in the land when dealing with football hooligans.
Yorkshire police are by far at football games the worst police around. This will probably make me even less popular, but fuck them.
Don't fuck about with the old bill up here, because I'll just do ya.
Every firm in country knows if they come to Yorkshire and they want to act up, they're going to get a few truncheon marks on them.
Many people over the years have kind of made connections between the ways in which the Yorkshire police football matches and the kind of techniques and methods that were developed during the miners' strike of the mid-1980s, where there was particularly brutal examples of policing of miners on picket lines.
South Yorkshire Old Bill are very firm. When people come here, they get a shout. Old Bill are, because they take liberties and they don't take no shit.
And it's not just on the day of the match where the police are tough. Modern police methods mean that the hooligans just can't get away with it anymore.
In our day, if you didn't get that, knock on the shoulder and you wear the magic words, you nicked, you got away with it. Now, they could be punching somebody, it could be a slight set toe, and 4 weeks later, your door's getting kicked in at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they've got that to contend with. So it's very different for the young lads of today.
They've had this thing about crushing BBC for years now. They've had a bee in the bonnet for probably the last 10 years, because we have caused a lot of trouble. We've got a young lad, 16-year-old, he's one of the youngest banning orders in the country. He's only been on scene 6 months, and next minute he's banned. He's banned for 3 years, so the youngsters that come through, they're basically banned straight away. Certainly with Sheffield United, we've got that many banned now that violence has been cut down at matches. It's not a thing to get into now like it used to be when I was young.
So with the Yorkshire police so much on top of it and the sentencing so much harsher than it used to be, what is the future for the lads in the Yorkshire firms?
Hooliganism now, I think it's gone. It's gone, definitely.
Police are so massively on top, it's unbelievable. And if they do get caught around any football stadium causing any type of violence, you're in big bother. Like, you're going to prison. And a lot of United have, a lot of Wednesday have, a lot of my mates have.
If I'd have done what I did when I was a lad now, I'd been jailed. No ifs or buts, I know that for a fact. I'd be jailed.
It's just not worth risking everything for. It really isn't.
I think it'd be a bit daft for anybody to sort of start thinking that it's going to be anything like it used to be.
So in Yorkshire, if it's action at a football match that you're looking for, you want proper backup with you and you don't fancy a long jail sentence.
Like a war game, we're like a war operations room.
Don't join a football firm like the service crew or the Owls crime squad. The police are on top, delivering justice with courage to the people of Yorkshire.